You're lying in bed. The room is dark. Your front door is locked tightly. Your windows are shut, and the modern world outside is completely silent. Yet your chest feels tight. Why does your mind refuse to turn off? Your phone rests on the nightstand. A single notification glows. It is an ambiguous email from your supervisor asking for a brief conversation first thing tomorrow morning. Your stomach drops instantly. Why does an ordinary digital message trigger the exact same physical response as a lethal predator lurking in the shadows? You tell yourself to calm down. You tell yourself there's nothing to fear. But your ancient brain refuses to listen to logic because it is operating on a set of survival laws written hundreds of thousands of years ago. The real answer to your constant worry is far stranger than a simple chemical imbalance or a stressful modern lifestyle. You're not broken. You're actually a masterpiece of evolutionary design. Your chronic anxiety is not a modern psychological failure, but a beautifully preserved, hyper-optimized survival rule that kept your ancestors alive in a world that wanted to kill them every single day. Think about the last time you felt a sudden, inexplicable wave of panic over something incredibly small. What triggered it, and how did your physical body react in that exact moment? Drop your experience in the comments below so we can unwrap how many of us are dealing with the exact same phantom alarms. You walk down a brightly lit grocery store aisle. Rows of colorful boxes line the shelves. There are no wolves here. There are no saber-toothed tigers hiding behind the organic produce. Yet you suddenly feel an overwhelming urge to run away. Why does a place of absolute abundance trigger a deep survival panic? Your brain contains a tiny almond-shaped cluster of nuclei called the amygdala. This is your internal alarm system. It does not think in concepts or words, it only reacts to perceived environmental threats. It has one primary objective, which is to keep you alive at all costs. Imagine your ancestor walking through an ancient valley 50,000 years ago. A sudden rustle occurs in the tall grass to your right. The ancestor who stops to logically analyze the probability of a predator is eaten. The ancestor whose amygdala instantly floods their body with adrenaline survives. Hypervigilance was a brilliant superpower. It kept your blood pumping to your major muscles. It sharpened your visual focus to detect the slightest movement. It shut down non-essential systems like digestion and cellular repair to conserve immediate energy. But today, you live in an environment your amygdala does not recognize. The modern supermarket is filled with flashing neon lights, screaming toddlers, and hundreds of unfamiliar faces staring in your direction. Your ancient brain interprets this extreme sensory overload as a crowded, dangerous territory filled with potential rivals. Your heart rate spikes. Your breathing grows shallow. Are you having a panic attack? Or is your body just trying to prepare you for a prehistoric battle that will never happen? You might wonder why your internal alarm is so incredibly sensitive. It goes off when you hear a loud pop outside. It goes off when your phone rings unexpectedly. It goes off when you think you made a minor social mistake. Why did evolution build a system that is wrong 99% of the time? Consider the groundbreaking work of researcher Dr. Randolph Nesse, a pioneer in the field of evolutionary medicine. He formulated a concept known as the smoke detector principle to explain this exact evolutionary quirk. Think about the smoke detector installed on the ceiling of your modern kitchen. A good smoke detector must be hypersensitive. It must trigger its loud, piercing alarm if there is a real fire. But that means it will also trigger its alarm when you accidentally burn a piece of toast. The cost of a false alarm is merely a temporary annoyance. What is the cost of a missed alarm? The cost of a missed alarm is absolute death. If the smoke detector fails to go off during a real fire, you lose everything. Evolution applies this exact same asymmetrical mathematical logic to your emotional defense systems. Your ancestors faced two distinct types of errors every single day. A type 1 error is a false positive where you think a predator is in the grass, but it is just the wind. You run away, waste a bit of energy, and look slightly foolish to your peers. Did you survive? Yes, you lived to see another sunrise. A type 2 error is a false negative where you think the rustling grass is just the wind, but it is actually a hidden leopard. You remain perfectly calm and continue foraging. You're dead within seconds. Because the cost of a false negative is infinite, evolution systematically selected for brains that overinterpret danger. Your modern anxiety is a hypersensitive smoke detector that values your survival far more than your daily comfort. It would rather torment you with 1,000 false alarms than let you drop your guard even once. Is it annoying to live with a brain that constantly screams fire? Absolutely. But you're only here today because your ancestors possessed the loudest alarms in the tribe. You're walking down a quiet street at night. You see a strange, twisted shadow up ahead near a tree. Your heart stops instantly as your brain creates an image of a dangerous person waiting in ambush. You take a closer look and realize it is just a pile of discarded trash bags. Why does your mind naturally assume the worst possible scenario about inanimate objects? Anthropologist and cognitive scientist Dr. Justin L. Barrett discovered a fascinating mental mechanism called the Hyperactive Agency Detection Device, or HAD for short. This is a hardwired cognitive bias that forces your brain to attribute intention, will, and life to completely inanimate things. It is an ancient survival rule designed to protect you from the unseen. If you see a rock formation that looks vaguely like a face, your brain locks onto it immediately. If you hear a strange creak in your house at midnight, you instantly wonder who is standing in the hallway. Your mind does not think about structural settling or temperature changes first. Why does your brain default to living threats instead of natural physics? To our ancestors, the world was a theater of active agents. Every shadow could be an enemy warrior. Every broken branch could be a stalker. Every unusual sound could be a venomous viper. If you assume a physical event is caused by an active agent, you prepare for defense or flight. If you assume it is just the wind, you remain completely vulnerable. Dr. Barrett's research shows that human brains are fundamentally biased toward hyperactive agency detection because it is always safer to mistake a plastic bag for a ghost than to mistake a ghost for a plastic bag. This rule extends directly into your modern digital life. When someone does not reply to your text message for 5 hours, what does your brain do? It does not assume their phone battery died or they are busy doing laundry. It instantly invents an active narrative filled with negative intent. It tells you they are angry with you, or they are intentionally ignoring you, or they are actively sabotaging your career. Your hyperactive agency detection device is projecting ancient predators onto blank digital screens. How often do you let these imaginary digital ghosts dictate your daily peace of mind? You're standing in a circle of people at a social gathering. You tell a brief joke, but nobody laughs. A heavy, suffocating silence fills the air for 2 agonizing seconds. You feel an immediate hot wave of shame wash over your face, and your stomach twists into a tight knot. Why does a minor moment of social awkwardness feel like a physical wound to your body? To understand this agonizing sensation, we must look at the work of psychologist Dr. Mark Leary and his revolutionary sociometer theory. Dr. Leary argues that self-esteem and social anxiety are not just abstract emotional concepts. They are an internal gauge designed to monitor your standing within the group. For the vast majority of human history, complete isolation meant certain death. A single human being wandering the Pleistocene savanna could not hunt large game effectively. You could not protect yourself from predators while you slept. You could not gather enough food to survive the harsh winters without a cooperative network. Your tribe was your physical lifeline. If the tribe decided they did not like you, they could cast you out into the wilderness. Ostracism was a literal death sentence. Therefore, your brain developed a hypersensitive tracking system to detect the slightest drop in your social status. Social anxiety is the psychological alarm that warns you when you're at risk of being excluded from the safety of the group. It floods your system with cortisol to force you to pay attention to your behavior. When you make a mistake in public today, your ancient brain does not understand that you're surrounded by strangers who will forget your existence in 5 minutes. It believes you're on the verge of being banished from the only tribe you have. It reacts as if you're being pushed out into the freezing cold to starve alone. If you're beginning to realize how your ancient brain is constantly trying to protect you in all the wrong ways, please take a quick moment to like this video and share it with someone who needs to understand their own mind. Sharing these evolutionary insights helps others quiet their internal alarms and realize they are not alone in their struggles. You have a stable job, you have enough food in your refrigerator to last for 2 weeks. Your rent is fully paid for the month, and you have a modest safety net in your bank account. Yet you spend your Sunday evening pacing around your living room, utterly consumed by worry about what might happen 5 years from now. Why is the human animal completely incapable of just enjoying the present moment? Psychologist and researcher Dr. Daniel Gilbert has dedicated years to studying our unique mental capacity for what scientists call prospection. This is the ability to project our minds forward into time, creating elaborate simulations of events that have not yet occurred. Humans are the only animals on Earth that can consciously contemplate the distant future. A squirrel can bury nuts for the winter, but it does so out of a blind genetic instinct. It does not lie awake at night wondering if a rival squirrel is going to discover its hiding spot next November. It does not worry about inflation or the long-term sustainability of the oak tree forest. Our ancestors gained an incredible evolutionary advantage when they developed the capacity for mental time travel. The ability to simulate the future allowed us to plan complex hunting strategies before ever leaving the cave. It allowed us to anticipate drought months before the water dried up. It drove us to build shelters, store grain, and form alliances long before the crisis arrived. Chronic worry is simply your simulation engine running on overdrive. Your brain is a highly advanced forecasting machine that views the future as a landscape covered in hidden landmines. It is constantly running thousands of worst-case scenarios to ensure you're prepared for every single one of them. But there is a tragic catch to this evolutionary superpower. Your body cannot tell the difference between a real event and a vivid mental simulation. When you imagine losing your job or getting sick or being abandoned by your partner, your brain releases the exact same stress hormones as if those disasters were happening right now. You're suffering in advance for problems that may never exist. Your capacity for forward thinking has turned your imagination into a torture chamber. How much of your precious lifetime have you spent surviving catastrophes that only ever took place inside your own head? You're sitting in traffic. You're running 10 minutes late for an appointment that does not actually matter in the grand scheme of your life. Your hands are gripping the steering wheel so tightly that your knuckles turn stark white. Your jaw is clenched, your shoulders are raised to your ears, and your stomach is producing an excess of acid. Why does a minor timing delay cause your physical body to self-destruct? Neurobiologist and researcher Dr. Robert Sapolsky famously explored this destructive phenomenon in his landmark research on stress. He notes that the human body is perfectly adapted for acute physical crises. If a zebra is being chased by a lion, its stress response activates fully for about 3 minutes. During those 3 minutes, the zebra's body undergoes a radical transformation. It diverts all energy to its legs, raises its blood pressure to maximize oxygen delivery, and shuts down everything else. Once the chase is over, the zebra either dies or escapes. If it escapes, its nervous system returns to a state of absolute calm within minutes. The stress is acute, intense, and short-lived. Humans, however, have turned this system completely upside down. We do not get chased by lions very often anymore. Instead, we worry about mortgages, credit scores, social media algorithms, and career trajectories. These are not acute physical crises that end in 3 minutes. These are chronic, abstract psychological threats that persist for months, years, or decades. Your evolutionary biology has a massive structural flaw known as evolutionary mismatch. Your stress response was designed to handle a sudden sprint away from a predator, not a 3-decade mortgage. When you keep your internal alarm turned on 24 hours a day, the constant flood of cortisol and adrenaline begins to ravage your physical health. It erodes your cardiovascular system, damages your memory centers, disrupts your sleep patterns, and compromises your immune defense. Your body is running a high-stakes survival program intended for an immediate emergency, but it is running it during a standard day at an office desk. The tools that saved your ancestors from extinction are slowly breaking your modern body down from the inside out. Are you truly under threat, or are you just using an ancient weapon against a modern phantom? Before we uncover how to finally retune this ancient machinery and reclaim your peace, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. We regularly dive deep into the ancient history, hidden psychology, and evolutionary rules that quietly govern everything you think, feel, and do today. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss another deep look into the hidden mechanics of your own mind. Now that you understand the ancient rules of your anxiety, you can begin to look at your daily worries through a completely different lens. The next time you feel that familiar wave of panic rising in your chest, do not fight it. Do not tell yourself that you're weak or crazy or broken. Instead, take a deep breath and speak directly to your ancient brain. Acknowledge that your hypersensitive smoke detector is just doing its job. Recognize that your hyperactive agency detection device is simply trying to keep you safe from a ghost in the grass. Realize that your social dread is just an old tribal compass trying to keep you connected to the group. You can look at that tight feeling in your chest and realize it is actually an act of deep biological love from your ancestors. They passed down their most sensitive alarms to ensure that you would be here today to experience this world. Your job is not to destroy the alarm system, but to gently remind it that the environment has changed. The modern world has many challenges, but the immediate physical dangers of the Pleistocene savanna are gone. You're safe in your room. The locked door is secure. The email from your boss cannot physically bite you. You can choose to thank your ancient nervous system for its vigilant protection, and then softly command it to rest. You can step out of the survival simulation and step fully back into the reality of the present moment. Your ancestors ran so that you could finally walk in peace. You're lying in bed.